Welcome back with a smiling face. Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. The Sorrow of Omega's Broken Heart. Episode 3. Chapter 29. Logan was glaring at those girls. Alisa looked away from him. It was all his fault. Everything was his fault. She turned around and headed another way angrily. Logan glanced at her back, then turned to everyone. If any of you talk about her again, I will cut your tongue. Everyone lowered their head when they saw how furious he was. And you girls. He pointed his finger at the girls who had talked about Alisa's parents just now. He heard everything. We are so sorry, Alpha. They apologized. Come to the pack house with your parents. Our beta will handle you. Logan said. Their eyes widened. Beta? Beta Glenn? They knew about him. He was a very tough man in the war. He was very strict when it came to protection and punishment. No, stop your nonsense and do what my Alpha ordered. Wade spoke out. He was standing behind Logan. He was the soon-to-be beta. So he had some authority too in the pack. Alisa, on the other hand, did not attend any classes. She dashed to the rooftop. She shut the door. She took a step to the edge and gripped the railing tightly. Then she sobbed. What was going on with her? Why did she have to go through so much suffering while also being humiliated? She had not done anything. So, why? Why was everyone after her? I can't take it any longer. My life began to unravel the moment I turned 18. I don't want to be a part of this pack. This pack's members are extremely judgmental. She muttered and looked up at the sky. She was interrupted by another voice. So, do you want to go somewhere else? She slowly turned around to see Lucas seated with his back against the wall near the door. What exactly was he doing here? How could she have missed him? Did he hear what she was saying? What are you doing here? He did not even look at her. His eyes were closed as if he was sleeping. I was just having some alone time when you disturbed me. Alisa took a close look at him. His face shone brightly in the sunlight. What was he up to? Sunbathing? This is not just your school. I can come here as well, she said, turning back to the railing. Students could be seen from the rooftop. Some of them were entering the school, and some of them were leaving. You look irritated, he stated. You are right. I'm getting annoyed. Would you like to share? No. Okay. He merely answered. She eventually turned to face him. Do you know what? I am telling you because it's all because of your brother. He ruined my life. It's like meeting him is a curse. He did not respond to her. She approached him and knelt slightly. Have you fallen asleep? Still no response. She sat next to him, her legs pressed against her chest. She leaned back against the wall. She closed her eyes as tears streamed down her cheeks. She swiftly brushed her tears away and sobbed. Tisk. Stop sobbing. Just because I told you that crying is not bad, that does not mean you will become a crybaby. He was audible to her. Her eyelids opened and she turned to face him. He still did not open his eyes. He pressed his arms on his chest. What brings you here? She asked. I answered you a few minutes ago. No, I mean. Are you sad like me? Alisa had no idea, but she was surprised to feel at ease. She was feeling comfortable with him. I don't get sad. Never. Never. She sat appropriately, with her knees bent. How is that possible? Everyone cannot be happy all of the time. Suddenly she touched her chest and felt her wolf's response. All things just happened to her peeled off from her mind as she smiled at her wolf's reaction. She could feel her inside. She did not feel wolfless. You are back? She asked in her mind. She could feel her but she could not connect the link with her wolf. I don't believe in these types of things. I only believe in myself. He let out. She almost forgot that she was sitting with him. She was too happy to get her wolf's response that she forgot him. Her eyes fell on his white shirt. The tattoo on his chest was visible. Can I ask you something? No. What is the meaning of your tattoo? She asked though he said no. She knew he would reply to her. I said no. Why did you ask? Because I know you will answer. Why? Do you trust me that much? Did I just show trust in him? How can I trust him after what he did to me in the classroom? She asked herself but did not get any answer. But she had to answer something. So she replied, no, I don't. Really? Of course. Why would I trust you? I don't. He turned his head and looked into her eyes. Her pupils dilated. His eyes were very red as if he had not fallen asleep the whole night. She unknowingly went near his face to look into his eyes. Did you not get enough sleep? Why are your eyes puffy? You lied about coming to the dining hall to eat with everyone. Where have you been all the time? His gaze was traveling across her face. When he got a little closer, she gulped. Why do you care? His warm breath and deep voice brushed her cheek. He stared her in the eyes. He seemed to be able to see into her soul. His gaze was drawn to her lips. Their lips were inches apart, almost touching. She closed her eyes tightly since she did not know what she was feeling at the time. She failed to feel anything on her lip for a few seconds. She heard his icy voice instead of a kiss. Don't trust me, Alisa. Don't trust me, Alisa. Alisa opened her eyes immediately. She was shocked, mostly horrified. What happened to her? Did she just almost let him kiss her? If he did not back away, they might have kissed already. What is wrong with me? She thought. She looked at Lucas. He was looking at her. His eyes were cold. He must be thinking of me as a shameless girl. Her eyes became teary. She turned her head to another side. She wiped the corner of her eyes. Why are you crying? He asked. She was speechless. Should she reply to him? She stood up. Nothing. Then she stood beside the door. She glanced at him. He was staring at her. Go and take a rest. You should sleep. She opened the door wide and left the rooftop. She was mad at herself. Every time she met Lucas, something happened. She could blame him for the classroom, but what about today? How could she let go of her self-respect like that? She was going downstairs when her eyes fell on Logan. She tightened her fists. She wanted to give him a punch. All of this is happening because of him. Alisa, Logan called her. She walked past him. Logan followed her behind. Alisa, listen to me. Stay away. She muttered angrily. Where are you going? You don't have to know. Everyone was staring at them. They were surprised that their alpha, who never behaved so desperately to any girl, was running over a girl. Alisa emerged from the entrance. She began to walk in the direction of the bus stop. Logan grabbed her hand. Stop! How dare you touch me? She roared and snatched her hand. Logan took a deep breath. Okay, calm down. I am not touching you. Shut up. And don't follow me. She continued to walk again. She felt he no longer followed her. She went to the bus stop and sat down on a bench, waiting for a bus. She was moving her legs while sitting. She was very nervous. She did not know why. I have to stay away from Lucas. I can't go around him. Whenever he comes in front of me, I feel strange. She bit her lips. She rested her chin on her palms. A bus came and people started to fill the bus. She stood up and went inside the bus. She sat beside a window. A middle-aged woman sat beside her. She observed Alisa's expression. Are you upset? Hey! Alisa turned her head to her. The woman smiled at her. Is something bothering you, kid? The woman's green eyes were very attractive. Alisa understood that she was a witch. I am just confused, she said and turned back to the window to see outside. Why? I am not feeling good. Is it about your wolf? Alisa turned to her and asked, how do you know? We can see many things. The woman replied. Green eyes turned dark, she let out, your wolf does not look good to me. She is in anguish. She felt some pain that broke her totally. Alisa lowered her head when she heard that. But she will recover soon. Alisa heard her again. It was true because she took Dr. Linus's potion. Yeah, I have a potion for omegas. The woman looked perplexed. A potion? Yeah, my doctor told me that would help me. She shook her head. There is no potion in the world that can give you back your wolf but your mate. Mate? The woman nodded. Yeah. Only a mate can save her mate's wolf. I can see, she is recovering well. Though she is weak, she will be fine soon. All you have to do is, stay beside him. Alisa stared at her blankly. She whispered, but my mate rejected me. The woman was stunned. How can this be possible? Alisa did not reply to her. She had nothing to say. I think the mate bond has not broken yet. Because I can see you have a mate. Alisa's eyes widened. She could not be more shocked. The woman patted her back. Kid, don't worry too much. Your wolf needs her mate as well as you. So try to stay close to him. It will give your wolf strength. It will help her to recover fastly. At that time the bus stopped. It was Alisa's house area. She stood up slowly. But her mind was full of confusion. She smiled at the woman. Bye, aunt. Stay blessed. Thanks. She got down from the bus and started to walk. She was confused about what the woman said to her. She tried to remember when she first felt her wolf response after the rejection. But that morning she did not meet Logan, or did she? Was he there somewhere? She met him when she went to Dr. Linus. She felt pain in her heart. Was it also a response? Today she felt it again. Today Logan was there in the hall too. Alisa closed her eyes and shook her head. No, no. This is nonsense. Mate bonds haven't broken yet? How can it be possible? She headed to Tisa's house as she was guessing about everything. But if it's not true, then how did my wolf react? She tried to shove her all thoughts and reached Tisa's house. Alisa, dear. How are you? Tisa's mother asked. Fine, aunt. How about you? All good. But your best friend suddenly got sick. Yeah, I came to see her. Tisa's mother nodded and told her to go to Tisa's room to meet her. Tisa was using her phone when Alisa went to her room. Tisa was stunned that she came so early. Alisa hugged her and asked about her condition. They talked about Tisa's health. Tisa asked her what happened to her. Alisa could not restrain herself to tell her everything. You mean your mate is helping your wolf to recover? The witch woman said so. How can we believe her? She told me about my wolf without me telling her anything. She is a witch, so obviously she was trying to help me. Tisa nodded her head. She thought for a moment and advised her, that means you will have to spend some time with Logan from now on if you want to recover your wolf. That means you will have to spend some time with Logan from now on if you want to recover your wolf. Alisa lay down on the bed. She closed her eyes. I don't want it, Tisa. I have just seen some pictures. They are saying something else. Hey. She waved her phone close to Alisa's face. Alisa opened her eyes and rolled them. He asked me for forgiveness. What? Yet. You didn't say that to me. How can I? You were not at the school. Tell me what happened. Tell me everything. Alisa sat up and told her about everything. Including what happened with Lucas. You mean Alpha Logan is apologizing to you and wishes to earn your forgiveness? Yet. And his brother Lucas tried to get close to you. You almost let him kiss you. Yet. That bastard. Alisa sighed. She knew she would get this reaction. Alisa, stay away from him. I am warning you. He is a playboy. I am not that close to him either. But it's just I don't know what is going wrong with me. Nothing is happening. He is using his charms on you. His charms. Yes, his charms. He is using his tricks to get you. You know how playboys usually use tricks to trap girls. He is doing that. Really? Alisa asked and glanced at the blank wall. Yeah, honey. Come here. I will protect you from him. He is not good for you. Tisa pouted and hugged her as if Alisa was a kid. Whatever. Drop this topic. Tell me about you. Are you still in contact with that Max? Tisa was silent. Alisa looked at her. What? Do you really believe him? I don't think he is like Lucas. Lucas came from abroad but Max was always here. We saw him before. He is a good boy. Wait a minute. When did this happen? How long have you been observing him? Just a few years. Oh my God. You didn't tell me. I was confused. He was just a crush. I thought I would never get to talk to him, you know. If the chance is so low, then why would I dream of it? So I didn't tell you. Alisa nodded her head. If you really like him, then please be careful, okay? I don't want you to end up like me. Your birthday is also coming. I will wait for my mate. I know Max does not like me. We are just friends. But you like him. As you say, I can't feel the pain like you. So it would be better if I wait for my fate. Alisa smiled. You are not foolish like your best friend. They talked for hours. Alisa had lunch at Tisa's house. Tisa's mother called Alisa's mother and told her that Alisa would be at their house till evening. I am so sorry, Haley. She can't. Why, Joey? Alisa has to go to the pack house. Tisa's mother was stunned. Pack house? Is everything okay? Yeah, everything is okay. But she has to join the training course from today. It's a nice thing. Don't worry, I will send her soon. Thanks a lot, Haley. Let's meet one day and talk more peacefully. Yeah, you are right. It's been a long time since we have seen each other. They talked for a while, then Tisa's mother went to Tisa's room. Alisa, you have to go now. Your mother told me you have to go to the pack house. Pack house. Alisa almost forgot about training. But she planned to cancel it. It's okay, I can go tomorrow. No. Tisa spoke out loudly. Alisa turned to her. Tisa smiled at her awkwardly. You have to go, remember? You have to go. Your wolf wants to train. Am I right? Tisa gestured to her in front of her mother and tried to remind Alisa about her wolf. Alisa understood what she was saying. She nodded her head. Oh, yeah. My wolf wants to go training. She said goodbye to Tisa and her mother, then left the house. She took a cab to go to the pack house directly. When she arrived in the area, it was already afternoon. She paid the driver and did not get out of the cab immediately. She took a deep breath. Madam, we are here. You can. I know. I am leaving. She got down and headed to the pack house. The pack house's area was really big. No one could enter any car without Alpha's permission. So she could not take the cab inside. When she reached the pack house, guards recognized her and smiled at her. She smiled back at them. They were old guards. They had known her since she was a child. She entered the pack house. Luna was sitting on the couch, talking with someone on her phone. When she saw Alisa, she stood up. Yes, yes. She is here. Now let me talk to her. Your time is over. She chuckled and hung on. Come here, dear. I was just talking to your mother. Alisa smiled and walked to her. She felt awkward coming here alone. She always came with her mother. She just came here last night. Now again she came back. I came here for training, Luna. I know that. Take a rest first, then go to the training hall. No, it's okay. I am totally fine to go there. As you wish. But don't think of going back before dinner. Dinner? It would be too late. One of our drivers will send you home. So no worries. Alisa could not deny her. She nodded and headed to the training hall. The pack was enormous, like a palace. There was a pair of stairs that led to going upstairs and then connected together. It was a duplex bungalow. Inside the house, there were numerous hall rooms, including a ballroom. She entered the training area. She expected a large number of pack fighters to train there. However, she was shocked to see that there was no one in the training hall. She took a step forward to have a look around. But she came to a halt as she heard Logan's voice from behind her. Welcome to your first day of training. Welcome to your first day of training. She turned around. Logan was grinning at her. He was in his training clothes. His black training pants and white skin-tight shirt could grab anyone's attention. His muscles were visible in that shirt. Alisa almost lost in his good looks, but then she controlled her heart. He walked to her. You came late. I thought you would be on time. She averted her gaze from him and looked around the massive hall. I was busy. Where is everyone? I gave them leave. She was stunned. Leave? Yeah, I thought it was your first day. So you need some privacy since you are shy. She glared at him. I am not shy. We'll see. He replied and headed to another room. Alisa did not know if she should follow him or not. She followed him. They arrived in a large room. It was similar to a locker room, except it was a place where everyone came to change their clothes. He went to the large closet and opened one of the drawers. He pulled out a black cloth. "Here are your training clothes. Change your clothes. Come to the hall now. I'll be waiting for you." Alisa nodded and exited the room. It was a restroom. People gathered here after training to take a shower to eliminate sweat from their bodies. She was dressed in a black shirt and cargo pants. Those made her feel at ease. She went to the training room. She noticed Logan drawing a line with white chalk. He halted when he turned his head to her. "Let's get started," Alisa remarked, approaching him. He stood up and nodded. "By the way, you look good in these clothes," Logan said as his gaze traveled to her body. He had never thought her body would be like this. So perfect and beautiful. The curves of the upper body were visible to him. He averted his gaze so as not to make her feel uncomfortable with his scheming eyes. "Stand on the opposite side of the line." Alisa attempted to follow his instructions. He demonstrated some warm-up movements to her. "How can I possibly do that?" Alisa inquired when she noticed how neatly he stretched out one leg on the ground while bending the other. "You certainly can. Just give it a shot." "I am trying." "No, it's not like that." He spoke up and approached her. He sat alongside her and pushed her leg, which was at its limit. "Wait, what are you doing? It hurts." "Assisting you in preparing for a perfect fight. Legs are the most important body part for any fight. So concentrate on your legs." When Alisa clenched her eyes hard to bear the pain, Logan gazed at her. She placed her palm on his shoulder and fist-cuffed his shirt. "You are going to kill me today. My knees are in excruciating pain." Logan did not respond to her. He was staring at her. He could see her clearly and very closely. She was stunningly attractive, with flawless skin. Why hadn't he looked at her this way before? Or did he lack the confidence to do so? Alisa felt his hand moving from her knee to her thigh. She jerked back and opened her eyes. "What exactly are you doing?" Logan averted his attention from her and rose up as he heard her query. "Let's do this right now." He moved back and began to stretch his hands. Alisa slowly stood up and followed his moves. Logan taught her some fighting techniques. They were all defensive moves. "You are free to use them whenever you are in danger, okay?" Alisa nodded and concentrated on her exercises. She also desired to learn to fight. She wanted to defend herself on her own. They practiced for 2 hours. They were drenched in sweat. "You can shower and put on a bathrobe. You are free to wear your attire." "I'm going to wear the clothes I was wearing before this training." "Sure." Logan walked to the restroom to take a shower. Alisa punched the air behind him as if she were pounding him. He turned around at that point. In her astonished state, she froze. He frowned at her unmoved hand in the air. She glanced at her hand slowly and immediately moved down. "Well, I was trying out the moves." He turned and started to walk again. She sighed and shook her head. But she could not see the faint smile on his lips. Alisa took a shower and changed into her clothes, which were blue jeans and a black top. She came out of the shower and rubbed her hair. Logan was already out, so he waited for her outside. When she went out of the training hall, she saw him talking with someone on the phone. He glanced at her and hung up. He approached her. "You look fresh," he murmured while looking at her wet hair. Alisa did not respond to him. She made her way to the pack house. She decided to return right away. There was still time for dinner. She would eat dinner with her parents at home. "How was your training?" Ella asked when she saw her entering the pack house. Good, Luna. That's satisfactory. Your hair is wet. Yeah, I took a shower. You will catch a cold. Go upstairs and dry your hair. Okay. She made her way upstairs carefully. She went through the first room, which was Logan's. He might go to his room now, so she did not go there. There were two further rooms. One of them, she remembered, was the guest room. But she was unable to recall which one. As a result, she headed to the last room in the corner. When she opened the door, she noticed the room was dark. She turned on the lights, and the room brightened. The room was painted in black and white. On the right side, there was a king-sized bed. A large window next to it. Many black-colored pieces of furniture were scattered across the room. The room has changed a lot in 2 years, she said to herself. She needed to use the restroom to fetch a hair dryer. But her gaze was drawn to the bedside table. There was a photograph of a boy and his parents. She recognized the young boy. Did she mistakenly come to his room? She was about to turn to leave the room but paused when she heard the boy's voice. What are you doing in my room? What are you doing in my room? Alisa turned around. Lucas was leaning in his door while folding his arms against his chest. The door was closed. When did he come and close the door? She did not hear any noise. I came to take. She paused when she saw something on his white shirt. To take what? He asked. Her eyes were on his shirt only. There was a mark of a red lipstick inch down from the collar of his shirt. It was visible. Not only her, but also anybody could notice it. Alisa remembered what would have happened between them in the morning. They might have kissed if he had not moved away from her. How could she do that? Had she lost her mind? He came back to his home after doing dirty things with another girl. As he always did. Alisa looked away and replied, I mistakenly came here. Really? Yeah. She declared and walked to the door. However, he was standing there at the door. If she wanted to go, she had to move him. How can you mistakenly come to a man's room? Not only did you come to my room, but you also had a shower. She looked at him and shook her head. I didn't take a shower here. Let me go, I have to go to Luna. Lucas did not know why she came to his house or what she was doing in his room, but by looking at her face, he could say she was not feeling good here. Sure. He moved aside from the door. Alisa touched the doorknob. I heard what happened today in school. Alisa turned her head to him. About the pictures. He enlightened the fact he was talking about. Yeah. I don't know who clicked them and uploaded such a fake post. I must say. You two look good together. And what is fake? You can't say any of that is a fake picture. You two were undoubtedly this close last night. She turned to the door and nodded. Yeah. She did not need to explain anything to him. He was no one to get any justification from her. She opened the door and left his room. She made her way downstairs and looked for Ella. You haven't dried your hair yet? Come with me. Ella took her to her room when she heard she mistakenly went to Lucas's room. Alisa entered the master bedroom. It was downstairs in the left side corner. The bedroom was having all the advantages of broad spaces. So much furniture was there, but it still looked classy. Luna sat on the bed and Alisa sat on the tool in front of the dressing table. The bedroom is ours for a few days. After the coronation, Logan will shift here. Ella said. Alisa heard her while drying her hair. I hope he will get the best, Luna. Because if a Luna supports her alpha wholeheartedly, he can do anything. Alisa smiled at her. It must feel really good to be Luna. Everything is here for you. Luna Ella chuckled. It's not so easy, dear. A Luna had to bear pain too. If the Luna is not strong, the alpha can be in danger. Because his rivals can attack her to get the pack. The alpha will be helpless at that moment. He will lose everything at the same time. Alisa lowered her head. She remembered what Logan told her in the time of rejection. He was doing that for his people, for his pack. Hearing Luna Ella, she suddenly felt Logan took the decision for his people unquestionably. He was only thinking of his pack and its safety. But a low-ranked Luna can be like other powerful Lunas too, if her alpha supported her wholeheartedly. Alisa looked at Luna Ella. She was smiling at her. Alisa could not understand the reason behind her smile. But she nodded at her. That means, a Luna and an alpha are part and parcel to each other. If you support him and he will support you back, you can achieve everything together. Yet. Alisa mumbled. Alisa looked at her hair. It was done. Luna, I want to go home. Of course, you will. But not before having dinner with us. Let's go, dinner is ready. Alisa could not refuse her. She went to the dining hall with her. She saw Alpha Neil was already there. He was in his office all day long. When the maids called him for dinner, he came to have dinner with everyone. Alisa glanced at the right side of Alpha Neil. Logan and Lucas were sitting there. Alpha Neil saw her and smiled. She smiled back and bowed to him. Luna Ella sat on the left side of Alpha Neil and Alisa sat beside Luna Ella. In that position, she was facing Lucas, he was in her opposite seat. She did not look at his brother. Hello, my child. How are you? Alpha Neil said to Alisa. Fine, Alpha. What about you? Busy at work. There is so much work before giving my responsibility to the next head Alpha. Alisa nodded and glanced at Logan. He was looking at his plate. Everyone started to eat quietly. Suddenly Alpha Neil asked, How was your training today? Alisa looked at him and nodded her head. It was good, Alpha. Just good. Very good. Alpha Neil chuckled at her answer. What training? Lucas's voice came to her ear from her opposite seat. Luna Ella replied, Today was the first day that Alisa began her training. I believe she will learn everything soon. Of course, she will. Logan spoke out with an assuring tone. Alisa blushed while looking at her food. Everyone was praising her too much. She was not even strong. But she needed some inspiration, so it was a good thing for her. Alpha Neil let out, how can she not learn properly when the future Alpha himself will train her every day? Alisa could feel a gaze on her. She lifted up her head and saw Lucas looking at her. His eyes were cold. She could feel herself frozen in her seat. She could not help but think, what's wrong with him? Teach her every move that royal wolves use in battle, Logan. I want Alisa to grow into a good fighter. Alpha Neil stated while chewing his supper. Logan gave a nod. Don't be worried, Dad. I will. While glancing at Alisa, he responded. Alisa was looking at Lucas, then at Logan. Lucas was furious, but Logan's eyes were soft on her. She turned her gaze from them and concentrated on her food. She was unwilling to hear anything further about fighting or training. Lucas grinned at Alpha Neil and twisted his head to Logan. I thought an Alpha was supposed to assist the current Alpha before seizing control of the pack? It appears that our future Alpha is enjoying his leisure time. Logan turned to face him and stared him in the eyes. Am I completely wrong, Alpha Logan? Lucas rolled out his name sarcastically with rank. Logan gave him a friendly smile. Yes, you are wrong, brother. I don't have the free time to live my life by going to clubs and throwing parties. Lucas rolled his eyes. What makes you spend your precious time on training in Omega? Don't you have a bunch of pack fighters to train them? Well, our current Gamma is doing that. After him, my Gamma will take over the job. But how can I describe that to you? You can't understand the royal jobs, you know. Lucas scoffed at him as if he did not feel any insult from Logan's words. Most importantly, no matter how busy I am always there for my family. Alisa is Beta Glenn's daughter. So she is a member of our family too. I am delighted to devote my time to her. What does it matter if she is an Omega? I'm going to train her like an alpha she-wolf. Everyone was staring at the two brothers, who were locked in a stare-down. Alisa had no idea what was going on. The person who first encouraged her is now discussing her rank. And the other, who rejected her because of her rank, tried to make her powerful? Stop talking and eat quietly. Alpha Neil spoke out with a cold tone. Logan and Lucas were still glaring at each other as if, at any moment, they would end up fighting. What did your father say? Didn't you both hear him? Focus on your meal. Lunella said it in the same icy tone. Alisa was taken aback by her demeanor. Lunella's gentle side had always been apparent to her. She was able to glimpse her dominant side today. She was a Luna, as domineering as her Alpha. However, she noticed something in the eyes of Alpha Neil and Lunella. That was terror. They were scared that Logan and Lucas would fight to the death. Logan and Lucas both looked away from each other after hearing their mother's voice. Lucas stood up from his seat. Lunella looked at him. Where are you going? You can't leave without finishing your food. I'm done. Lucas replied. His gaze was fixed on Alisa. At that moment, Alisa also looked at him. Then Lucas looked away and left the dining room in a bad mood. The atmosphere was silent. Alpha Neil glanced at Alisa. He is an uncivilized young man. Don't mind his words. Alisa gave a nod. She decided it would be best if she went back home as soon as possible. She waited for Alpha Neil and Lunella to finish their dinner after she finished hers. It would be impolite for her to leave like this. Later, everyone went to the living room. Alisa spoke out to them, I think I should leave now. Alpha Neil nodded his head. Okay. He turned to Logan and ordered him, go and drop her off at home. Okay, Dad. Logan stood up and was about to go out when Alisa stopped him, no need. Thank you. I can go back by myself. No, you can't. It's already late. I can't let you go alone at this time. Logan let out. Alpha Neil and Lunella both saw how Logan behaved with her. They looked at each other and smiled. Lunella cleared her throat. It's okay, Alisa. He is a good driver. He will drive the whole pack soon. You can trust your life with him. Alisa felt like laughing inside her mind. Trust my life with him. He almost killed me, she thought. Logan did not listen to her. I am going to take out my car. Come outside. Alisa bowed to Alpha and Luna, then followed Logan outside. He went to the parking lot to take out his car while Alisa waited for him outside. So he is going to train you daily. She heard Lucas's voice. She turned around and saw him coming to her. It looked like he was outside all the time. Yeah, Alisa replied simply. He nodded his head as if calming himself from something, then said, I am just curious. About what? How can you be so shameless? Pardon. Alisa was startled by his words. He glared at her. Didn't he reject you? Then why are you wasting time on him? Why are you even talking with him? She stared at him for a few seconds, then replied, Lucas, firstly, you are not my dad. So please stop telling me what I should do or not do. Secondly, just because you know about the rejection, you cannot mock me about it all the time. And lastly, he apologized to me. He was helpless. He thought more about his pack than his mate. So I cannot do anything with him. He was so right. You don't deserve him. I can't believe I even gave you a suggestion to move on. Because all you can do is roam around the head alpha without even thinking about your self-respect. Wait a minute, do you even have any self-respect? Alisa was stunned. She had never thought Lucas would talk to her like that. Because all the time, he only motivated her. He was right that she should not be with Logan, but why was he humiliating her like that? She needed Logan, at least until she got her wolf back. Lucas just misunderstood her. She took a deep breath. Before she could say anything, Logan's voice came from behind. How dare you talk to her like that? Logan came to them and glared at Lucas. Why are you talking so rudely to her? Lucas's eyes were still on Alisa. She was speechless. She did not think Logan would ever come to defend her. Why do you care? Lucas asked Logan and turned his head to him. Suddenly, Alisa felt her wolf whining. She felt her wolf shaking inside. Her wolf was reacting again. Logan grabbed her wrist, and she heard him say, I care for her. You heard me, right? So stop provoking her. Alisa slowly turned her head towards Logan. Did he say he cared for her? Why? Where was your care at that time when you rejected her? Lucas inquired and approached him. Logan also took a step forward. Alisa had no doubt that they might fight at any time. She remembered how they fought in class. She injured herself while attempting to stop it. So she did not want to be a part of it this time. She yanked her hand away from Logan's grasp. She gazed at them both and said, I don't care what you both think about me. I don't want to know either. Just leave me alone. She turned around and walked to the road. Stay away from her. Logan warned this to Lucas angrily and ran behind Alisa. Lucas stared at the two of them with his glowing eyes. Alisa, she heard Logan calling her, but she did not stop walking. She heard the horn of a car behind her. Logan took his car to take Alisa and drop her home. But Alisa did not want to go with him. She wanted to be alone. Her mind was stirred up. Lucas's words were running through her mind. How dare he talk to me like that? Just because he knows my weakness, he can't humiliate me. He called me shameless. Who is he? No one. She scolded Lucas in her head. Don't worry. You will be fine. She told her wolf and stepped slowly. A car came around and stopped in front of her. Logan came out of the car. Alisa, get in the car. No. Don't be stubborn. I will drop you home. I don't want your help. You were about to go with me until you met Lucas. Please don't listen to him. He is just brainwashing you. She frowned at him. Brainwashing me? Do you think what he said was a lie? He was right. I should not be with you for a moment. You are the one who rejected me without mercy. I am supposed to hate you till the end of my life. Alisa, don't say such a thing. Are you kidding me? You left me to die. Did you forget that, Alpha Logan? He looked away from her and requested her, please. Mom and Dad ordered me to drop you off at home. If I don't do that, what will they think about me? She pointed her finger at him. This is what you are. Always think about what others think about you. Just like how you rejected me by thinking of your pack. My life was a waste for you. No, it's not true. I don't care about anyone. Go to hell. She walked past the car. But he grabbed her wrist. There are still 3 hours left before my birthday ends. Can I request this from you? Please come with me. I will drop you home. He dragged her to the door and opened it. Please. Alisa looked at him. His soft eyes were requesting her to agree with him. She looked away and sat in the passenger seat. He came to the driver's seat and started the car. The whole ride was silent. When the car stopped in front of her house, Logan came out to open her door. She got out of the car and glanced at him. I don't want to get any training from you anymore. That's not possible. Why? I have already set everything in my schedule. Dad and your father both wanted this. You can't refuse them. They want you to become a well-trained wolf. She stared at him. What happened to him? Why didn't he think about her like that before rejecting her? He is thinking that by doing all this, he can repay me. Logan looked into her eyes. He wanted to tell her that he wanted to train her and make her one of the best fighters so that, in the future, she would be like other high-ranked wolves. He wanted to prepare her with his own hands. Logan, they heard a voice and turned to Alisa's house. It was Alisa's mother, Joey. She was waiting for Alisa. When she saw Alisa with Logan, she called him from the door. She was a little far away, so she could not hear them. Aunt Joey, hello. Logan shouted from there. Son, what are you doing outside? Come inside, have dinner with us. She gestured to him with her hands. Before he could reply, Alisa spoke out, no, he can't. We had our dinner in the pack house. Oh. Then come inside. Let's have coffee. Joey was a very lovable person. She adored Logan because he was brought up in front of her eyes. So she did not think of him as an alpha but as her son. More than that, he was the future alpha. How could she let him go from the door? No, he had some work, Alisa replied again. Though it was an insult to Logan, he still smiled at Alisa. Are you afraid that I will grab more attention from your parents? Alisa turned to him and shook her head. She said in a low voice, no. I don't want my parents to get close to you. They don't know what you did to their daughter. But the moment they get to learn about it, they will start to hate you. So it's better if we maintain the relationship like an alpha and pack members. It would be nice for all of us. She smiled back a little as if she were talking with a stranger. Logan was taken aback. His smile froze. He averted his eyes from her and stepped back. See you tomorrow. Come to the training hall at the time. I will wait for you. He turned around to go inside the car. But he heard her. Happy birthday, Logan. Logan turned to Alisa. She looked indifferent. It's your day. So I wish you a happy life, Alpha Logan. Don't expect anything more than this. And thanks for dropping me home. She turned around and headed to her house. Logan stared at her back for a while, then drove away with his car. Why didn't you convince him to come inside? Alisa heard her mother when she entered her house. Mom, he is going to be the head alpha. He does not have as much time as his pack members. He has some work. Her mother observed her carefully. Alisa. Yes, Mom. Is everything okay? You don't look in a good mood. I am fine, Mom. I am tired because of training. At that time, her father came to the living room. How was your training? Alisa nodded her head. It was good. How was Logan as a trainer? Just fine. Just fine? He can kill more than hundreds in a night. He went to a war with us a few years ago. That time we understood how eligible he is for this position. Alisa felt abhorrent thinking about Logan killing wolves. Dad, I am just learning defensive moves so that I can protect myself. Yeah. But soon you will learn attacking moves too. He will teach you everything. Okay. She did not think too much about it. She was a simple girl who only wanted to live a simple life. War, fight, kill. Those were not her cups of tea. I am sleepy. I already had dinner at the pack house. I am going to sleep now. Good night. She told her parents and headed to the stairs. She heard her parents talking to each other. Logan came to drop her off, then left. Her mother told her father. Why didn't he come to our house? He said he has work. Alisa said so. Yeah. He always kept himself busy with work. It's Alisa's luck that she is getting training from a head alpha. You are right, Glenn. Alisa entered her room and went to change her clothes. She did not want to think anything about anyone, she just wanted to close her eyes and forget whatever was happening around her. She was bewildered about her condition. Her wolf was confusing her the most. She knew what that witch said could not be accurate. Because Logan had already rejected her, which was why her wolf became like this. However, she told her that her wolf needed Logan. That could be the case. She decided to stay close to Logan until she got her wolf back. After that, she would stay away from him as much as she could. The next few days passed like an office schedule for Alisa. She began her day by going to school first thing in the morning and then starting her training schedule at about noon. She needed to continue her studies once she got back to her house. It rendered her life monotonous and dull. It was time for a class and she was headed there. It was a combined class with seniors. She walked inside the classroom and found a seat in the very back of the room. When she looked out the window, she noticed a group of girls jumping and spinning about something. As she considered the various possible outcomes, a scowl formed on her face. She moved her gaze from outside when she felt someone seated beside her. She was surprised when she saw that it was Lucas. They did not talk to each other for a while. Alisa had the impression that he was trying to avoid her in recent days. It was good for her to do so. Because she felt the same way about him, too. Alisa averted her gaze away from him. At that moment, Logan and his friends came into the classroom together. His eyes looked about for a seat and eventually settled on hers. He moved his eyes to the side of her and grimaced as he did so. Alisa and Logan started to get along with each other. She had a feeling that Logan was making an effort to win her forgiveness. After that night, he began conducting with her as a trainer. On the other hand, she had the sense that he was changing his behavior around her. He was no longer the same cold-hearted Logan who had always neglected her. Logan and his friends moved to the seats in the far back of the class, which were a few distances away from Alisa and Lucas's seats. Alisa pulled out her notepad and began writing in it since she was bored and had nothing else to do. It was the final session of the class. Therefore, she decided that instead of going to today's training, she would return home earlier than usual. She might be absent for one day. There would be no issue with that at all. She was aware that Lucas was looking at her. It made her feel weird. She had Tisa on her mind constantly. Because her schedule did not align with that of this class, Alisa was forced to sit through the entirety of it by herself. After entering the room, the professor immediately began with the lesson. Alisa observed that the professor kept glancing over to check on her and Lucas several times. She did a quick turn of her head and gazed at Lucas. He was looking at her very intently. She turned her head away and then asked, "Do you want to say something?" Lucas did not respond to her question. She drew a deep breath in and squeezed the pen in her palm as she closed her eyes. "Stop gazing at me. The professor is taking notice of you." She thought he would not answer her. But he replied in a single word. "So." Alisa was able to pick up on the deep gloom in his voice. Even though they had not spoken to each other in 3 or 4 days, she felt they had not had any conversation for a long time. She looked at him and asked, "It's my first year, I have to study hard, so stop creating trouble for me." Hearing that, a smirk formed on his lips. "Maybe you don't know that. People used to call me a troublemaker in my last place." She gave him an angry look. Her gaze shifted over behind him. Logan was staring at her. She uttered a snarling hiss as she jerked her head to look out the window. These two brothers. I don't want to grab any of their attention, she said to herself. I want to talk to you, Lucas said. But I don't, she replied immediately. Her eyes were on her book. She was stunned when she felt Lucas coming closer to her right ear. She felt as though her heart was beginning to race as this near movement continued. What do you think about detention? When she moved her head, her nose accidentally brushed across his. She had almost forgotten how close his face was. Don't you dare! The warning she was giving was cut off by the booming voice of their professor. Both Lucas Iverson and Alisa Clark, detention. When Alisa heard the professor, her eyes immediately widened. Lucas moved away from her. He relaxed his posture and leaned back in his seat while grinning broadly. Everyone turned their attention to them. Alisa was embarrassed about what they were thinking of them. A few of them started muttering among themselves about them. She was mad at Lucas more than anything. She had never gotten any detention before. Usually, professors cut marks if any student disturbed in their classes. But detention was like a lockup for criminals in schools. She tightened her fists and sat frozen in her seat. As soon as the teacher announced that the class was over, she was the first person to leave the room. She talked to Tisa and gave her a hug. What the heck happened? That Lucas? She mumbled in an irate manner. Tisa wore a frown. Lucas? What sort of thing has he been up to this time? Alisa tried to remain cool as she exhaled through her mouth and blew out her breath. Because of him, I got detention. What? Yet. That boy is killing me. I did not want to talk to him, so he decided to take me to detention. How? Why? I don't know. I just don't want to see him. He told me so many things that night. He even talked about my ranks to her parents. Now what will he say to me? Again mock me for the rejection? I don't want to talk. Alisa, calm down. Why are you so affected by him? Just relax. Go to the detention and sit down for a while. If he wants to say something, don't listen to him. And it's a detention. The professor would be right in front of you. So Lucas cannot talk to you. Alisa thought about it. You are right. I should not think too much. Yet. Go now. Do you want me to wait for you? No, Tisa. I will go back by myself. You just got better from a fever. Go home and take a rest. Tisa nodded and stroked her head. Relax. Alisa headed to the class. Students were leaving the school. When she noticed Lucas standing while leaning against a wall, her steps halted. Then she paid him no attention as she made her way into the classroom. But he gripped her wrist. Take your hand off of me. She tried to break free her hand. However, the grip only tightened. If you want, I can cancel the detention, but you need to come with me. Let go of my hand. I don't want to go anywhere with you. He pulled her closer. Do you know what? No one had ever said no to me before. So I don't know how to deal with you right now. She was stunned by his moves and his words. What are you saying? He ignored her question and opened the door of the classroom, still grabbing her wrist. The professor looked at them. You two came. I can't take the detention, and neither can she. So cut it off for today. The professor stood up. He glared at him. You can't leave without detention. Alisa gulped when she saw how angry the professor was. She was about to tell him that she would take that detention alone. But before her, Lucas spoke out, call Alpha Neil and tell him that his son ran away from his punishment with a girl. He gave a wink to the professor and then dragged Alisa out of the classroom. Alisa saw the professor's jaw drop upon hearing him. She looked at Lucas when he was dragging her outside. How can he get what he wants every time? How cunning is he? He stopped in front of his car. He opened the car door, but it was shut by another hand. Where are you taking her? After the detention, Logan was waiting for Alisa to come out, but he spotted Lucas pulling her out instead. So he came and stopped him. Lucas and Alisa turned to Logan. Why are you still here? Lucas asked Logan. I asked, where are you taking her? Logan questioned him again as he glanced at Alisa. Alisa could not proceed with anything. However, she thought about hearing Lucas first. If he wanted to say something, she would listen to him. What if it was something important? Lucas did not reply to his question and said, wait, let me guess. You had been hanging around waiting for your trainee to show up. But sadly, she is unable to make it to the training session today. Alisa raised her brows and looked at him. Logan glared at him. She is coming with me. You wish. Lucas said and opened the door again. Logan grabbed Alisa's other wrist and said to her, Alisa, come with me. Alisa was shocked by them. They both held her hands and wanted her to go with them. She looked at Logan and then at Lucas. Lucas's eyes were on her other hand, which was grabbed by Logan. His gaze moved from her hands and fixed on her eyes. I am going with him. Alisa let out a sigh while looking at Lucas. Lucas's eyes turned cold when he heard her. His grip loosened. Alisa turned to Logan. I am going with him, Logan. Logan was taken aback. Alisa, he is not a good company for you. Alisa nodded her head. I know. But I need to talk to him. So I can't come for training today. Logan glared at Lucas and nodded at Alisa. He let go of her hand. Alisa sat in the car, and Lucas got in too. He turned the key in the ignition and drove off. A stabbing pain arose in Logan's chest and he grimaced in discomfort. He was hesitant to let go of her hand and expressed a desire to bring her along with him. He did not believe Lucas. Even though he did not want her to go with him, she insisted on going nonetheless. Meanwhile, Alisa was looking at the road. The whole ride was silent. Lucas did not let out a single word after starting the car. She did not know where he was taking her. However, she was thinking a lot about it. Why was she not worried? Was she trusting him that much? Suddenly, the incident on the rooftop came to her mind. She tried to clear her mind by closing her eyes and shaking her head. She should not think about those things ever again. At that moment, she heard Lucas's voice, "I am sorry, baby." Alisa turned her head slowly toward him and asked, "What?" "I said, I am sorry. Why did you call me baby again?" He narrowed his eyes. "You only heard that. How many times have I told you not to call me that? I can't stop myself. It's a habitual fact now. And you should make a habit of hearing that also." "Are you crazy?" "Yes, I am." "Then you should go to a mental hospital." "Oh, baby. I was admitted there before I came back to this pack." Her eyes widened. "What?" He glanced at her and chuckled. "Silly girl. I was kidding." Alisa rolled her eyes and turned to the window. "I am not talking to you." "I am sorry, Alisa." "Sorry for what?" "For how you talked to me that night. Or for how you belittled me in front of Alpha and Luna." He stopped the car, and she frowned. "Why did you stop the car?" He turned to her and replied, "We reached where I wanted to take you." She turned her head outside. "Forest. Let's go." He got out of the car and came to her door. He opened the door for her. She got out and asked, "Why did you take me here?" "My house is beside the forest. I can go there if I want to go for a run." He grabbed her hand and started to walk. She looked at his hand that was gripping her and then glanced at him. Why did he treat her as though he was really close to her? As though he had a claim on her. He called her nicknames and grabbed her hands without her consent. Alisa's gaze was drawn to the trees. It was a large and dense forest that stretched across the entire pack. In other packs, the forest was not close to the pack members' houses. So they needed to go far to go for a run. However, the Moonlight Crown pack was unique. Its forest was close to its pack members' homes. They did not have to travel very far. Alisa last visited the forest when Logan rejected her. This forest brought back all of her bad memories. When Lucas stopped walking, her steps came to a rest. She realized they had been walking for quite some time. "This is the place," he murmured as he moved away from her sight. Alisa took a look at what he was saying. When she spotted a beautiful lake in front of her, her eyes froze. "Wonderful." Lucas let go of her hand, and she took a step forward after he did so. She lowered herself to the ground in a kneeling position and looked at the lake. This place was spotless and bright. The sunlight, which was blocked from entering the forest by the magnitude of the trees, was reflecting off of the waters of the lake. "Beautiful." She grinned and whispered her response. Lucas was observing the look on her face from behind her. His gaze traveled her face back and forth. He went to her and sat down. "Sit properly. No one will come here." She turned to him and sat down beside him. "What do you mean no one will come?" Lucas gazed at the lake and replied, "This is my safe place. But not your secret place." "Yeah, but no one is allowed to roam around here. This is where I call home. I don't allow anyone to come here. If they do, they have to face me." Alisa saw an unknown emotion in his eyes. She sighed and asked, "Then why did you bring me here?" "You said no one is allowed, right?" "Because I am allowing you." "What?" He turned a little so that he could see her face clearly. "You are welcome to visit at any time." There will be no one to bother you. In fact, the nighttime view is much more breathtaking. It is possible to observe a reflection of the moon in the lake. It leaves a sense of satisfaction. Oh! She paused before falling into silence and looking around. It came back to her that she had been upset with him. But now she was chatting with him in a casual way. She should not have dealt with him in such a cool and calm manner. She ought not forget that he was the one who humiliated her. I wanted to talk to you. He broke the silence. During the time that she was listening to him, she remained quiet. Look, Alisa. I admitted that what I had said was wrong. I was impolite to you that night. I am very sorry. She did not reply to him and instead fixated her gaze on the lake. Look at me. He moved closer to her face. She gave him an angry look. What? So, you let me off the hook, right? No, I didn't. She said and turned her head to another side. Ah, my baby is so angry that she doesn't even want to look at me. She turned to him and glared. Again. He lifted his hand. Okay, I will not call you baby. Tell me you forgave me. She felt defeated by this childish man. Why was he acting so calm now? He did not look good that night. He always turned into someone else every time he got angry. She replied, turning back to the lake. She shifted her position to get there and then began untying the stripes on her shoes. Her legs finally made contact with the water. The water in the lake was of a comfortable temperature. When she finally felt some warmth despite the chilly weather, a smile broke out on her face. Are you enjoying your time here? She heard Lucas. Yeah. I knew you would like the place. He said with a confident tone. She turned her head to look at him and noticed that he was flexing his back muscles while squeezing his hands together. She suddenly recalled something, and as she did so, her gaze drifted away from him. She remembered that evening when she saw a lipstick mark on his shirt. She wanted to ask if he had again started to hang out with girls. I was wondering if you had any questions for me. As he observed her facial expression, he inquired. Do you still hang out with girls? I mean, I know you do. Why am I even asking? She shook her head as if she had asked a silly question. No. He replied without taking any time. She looked at him immediately. No. Most women fall over me and want to go out with me. But now I push them away since someone told me to wait for my mate. She was the one who told him that. She smiled at him, hearing that, and nodded. Yes, you can be a good man. Don't mess up with girls. Your mate will be proud when she meets you. He did not reply but stared at her. She waved her hand in front of his face and asked, Where are you lost? He spoke out, Will you help me to become a better person? His question completely caught her off guard. Help? A nod of the head was given. Yeah, help. What can I do to help you? After a brief moment of thinking, he shook his head in disagreement. Forget it. I was merely requesting for nothing. She tried her best to make sense of the facts by blinking a few times. She gave a thought about how he was living his life. Even with his own parents, he did not even converse with them appropriately. Let's be friends. She let out. It appeared from the expression on his face that he was disapproving of her suggestion. Friends? Friends. She made a gesture with her hand toward him. He gave her hand a sideways glance and then chuckled. I don't make girls my friends. Because in the end, they chose to be with me. His eyes seemed to be gleaming with amusement. Alisa withdrew her hand and turned her gaze away from him as she did so. You are a narcissistic man. I always tell the truth. The truth can be quite sour. Therefore, nobody wants to agree to it. Alisa drew her legs up from the water and pulled them against her chest to let them dry in the sunlight. What gave you such a fit of rage that night? She asked. Not a whole lot. A girl was making me mad that night. Because of my fury, I shouted a lot of hurtful things to her, who was already feeling bad. She gave him her gaze. I'm the one you are talking about. Oh yes. Then why are you trying to make a big deal out of it? Oh, baby. You are very unromantic. Again. She twisted her head to his side. Well, I told you that I wouldn't call you that. However, I did not mention for how long. Alisa was aware that wasting time in conversation with him was a futile endeavor. She stood on her own. I have to go back home. After lacing up her shoes, she started walking. In addition to that, he got up and started pacing alongside her. By the way, why do you feel the need for Logan's training? She came to a halt and cast a peek in his face. I am not interested in his training. It was my father's wish. He wanted that. I could not deny him. Once more, she started walking. If you'd like, I can train you as well. She appeared to be in shock. He wanted to train her? He was out of the pack for so many years. He did not join any wars with his father. He could not get any training from the Gamma. His father always taunted him about these types of things. Alisa wondered if he really knew how to fight like an alpha. But did Lucas just compare himself with Logan? Logan was a powerful alpha whom everyone from other packs was afraid of in the battleground. On the other hand, he was a normal alpha without any skills. He was clearly not as powerful as Logan. As I have already stated, I have no interest in receiving training. That was not what I wanted at all. That was something that was desired by my father. Additionally, I need Logan to stay close to me. His delighted face turned grim. You need him for what? I can't tell you about it. It's something personal. Personal. He muttered the word as a question. I hope you will not ask anything about him again. It's my matter. I want to fix it on my own. He averted his gaze away from her and nodded. I've got it. I won't ask you anything again. Thanks, Lucas. You really were of great help to me. I apologize that I was unable to express my gratitude to you. You inspired me to move on. It actually was effective. Yeah, I can see how effective it was. After muttering that, he went on his way. She went after him and they had no further communication. They came out of the forest and got into his car. He turned the engine on. His behavior boggled her mind. At one point, he was being playful, but at a later point, he appeared to be in a bad mood. Does he have some kind of mood disorder? She thought. In front of her house, the car came to a stop. Would you like to come inside? She asked. No. Okay. Thank you for bringing me to your place. He turned his head to face her and said, That's your place too. You are welcome to visit there at any moment. She gave him a small smile and a nod. She did not know when she would go there, but it was possible that she would go there when she got her wolf back. She stepped out of the car and waved her hand at him as she walked towards her house. He waved at her back and then started the car to drive away. She made a move towards her house door but hesitated on the way. Her father was standing there. Dad! Alisa, where were you? I was outside. Yes, I can also see that. However, that was your training time. Alisa scratched her head and smiled at him in an odd manner before continuing. Dad, I was not feeling well. So if you weren't feeling well, you really ought to have stayed at home and rested. What were you doing with Lucas? He is just a friend, Dad, she replied. She said that so that he would not misunderstand what she was trying to convey. Friend. Yet. Her mother emerged from the kitchen. Glenn, don't scold her. Scold? I was merely asking her questions. He turned to Alisa. It is not okay for the two of you to be friends, Alisa. You cannot be friends with Lucas. I have told you before. And you said you would take care of it. Alisa shook her head to her father. Dad, he is not that bad. You are a young girl. You don't know about boys' mentality. Lucas is not a good person. Dad, he is turning into a good person. He was alone so he did not know what to do. He was lost. Are you saying that you are going to take responsibility for him now? The sarcastic tone that her father used shocked her. That was an entirely new way for him to interact with her. Dad, let me explain, I was just... Her father let out a sigh before walking over to her. He caressed her hair. I am so sorry, my princess. I talked rudely to you. However, I am concerned about you. She smiled and gave her dad a hug before nodding. I know. In the middle of the hug, her mother joined them. They did not bring up Lucas in conversation again. After that, Alisa proceeded to go to her room. She closed her eyes as she lay down on her bed. She did not want to debate with anybody on behalf of anybody. That Lake and Lucas's words roam into her head simultaneously. Will you help me to become a better person? His words never left her mind. She thought about how he rejected her friendship with her. Then how did he ask her to help him? How would have she helped him? Did he think she was one of those girls who was head over heels for him? All of a sudden, she opened her eyes and touched her heart. She sat up. Her mouth opened wide. She mumbled in a shocking tone. My wolf. My wolf is back. She could feel her wolf inside. Her expression suddenly lit up with a radiant grin. I just can't believe it. She looked through her bag, trying to get her phone. She pulled out her mobile phone and dialed Linus's number. The phone rang 3 times before he received it. Linus, she exclaimed and stood up with excitement. What happened? Are you okay? Linus, I can feel her inside. I think my wolf is back. Really? It is good news. Try to shift or let your wolf take over. Okay, I am trying. She tried to let her wolf take over. But nothing was happening. Linus. What took place? I can't. She heaved a sigh of disappointment and plopped down on the bed in defeat. Alisa, please don't lose hope. Your wolf is progressing. It's still good news. You should be happy that you can feel her. She will be back soon. Yes, you are right. I should not feel dissatisfied. After finishing her conversation with Linus, she hung up the phone and went to the bathroom to take a shower. The next day, she went to school. As usual, she told everything to Tisa. I am very confused. My perception of Lucas is changing now. I heard he stopped messing with girls. Tisa said. Alisa remembered that Lucas also told her that. So that means he was telling her the truth. Logan is also regretting his decision. So maybe he will start to like you. Alisa snapped out of her thoughts and furrowed her brow. Like me? Tisa gave a slight nod of her head and then motioned for her to look elsewhere. She flicked her eyes over in that direction, and her gaze landed directly on Logan. Even though he was conversing with the other people at his table, he could not take his eyes off of her. Alisa looked away from him and shook her head. You misunderstand him. Maybe he is feeling guilty. But liking me is something he can't afford. He is the head alpha. What I have learned about him in a few days is that he thinks about his pack before him, which is great for the others in his pack but terrible for me because he has rejected me. Tisa kept a close eye on her best friend and asked, I want to ask you a question. May I? Do you even need to ask my permission? It seemed as though Tisa was debating whether or not she should pose the question. Alisa patted her back. Ask me anything. No worries. Have you forgiven Logan for what he did? The question astounded Alisa. She herself did not know the answer. It's just been a week since he asked for forgiveness. But what he did to my wolf is something I can't ever forget. However, when I get my wolf back, I will think about it. His life will be separated from mine. I will not ruin my future by thinking about this rejection. So I will try to forgive him and free myself from this tragedy. Tisa held her hand. Your thoughts are great. Only if you forgive him and let go of your mind can you free yourself. You will be happy in the future without any worry. Alisa smiled at her. Her eyes fell behind Tisa. She caught a glimpse of Lucas. He was talking with a girl. The girl was trying to explain something, but he backed away as if he did not care. Girls always surround him. Who knows how long he can stay away from them? When he entered our school, girls thought he was a playboy with a flirty attitude, but they were wrong. He is a cold man. I even heard that he is too rough. Alisa pressed her hand over Tisa's mouth. What the hell? Alisa yelled in whispers. Tisa gave her a look at what had happened. Alisa shook her head. I don't want to hear these types of things. Tisa removed her hand from her mouth and chuckled. You almost kissed him, so I thought I should let you know first. She winked at Alisa. Alisa hit her arm. Tisa cracked up. Okay, I was just kidding. But what I told you about him was true though. I don't care. I saw how disappointed his father was every time he talked to him. I saw his mother's pain in her eyes. He always behaves like a spoiled brat. So what do you want to suggest? I told him to wait for his mate. He accepted my advice. Tisa frowned. Do you really think a playboy like him can take advices? I mean, don't you think something is fishy? How can he change himself for someone he doesn't even know exists? Like no one. When will his mate come? Until then, will he bury his desire like this? Alisa wanted to think about it like Tisa. But she thought, why would she overthink? Who cares? I just wanted him to be a good boy. I hope he really gets it in his heart and becomes a better person. We'll see. Yet. What about you? Me? What do you think about him? She was wondering what her thoughts were on Lucas. A good friend? However, he did not agree to become her friend. He is just a family friend. Nothing more. He helped me with his motivation. I feel a sense of gratitude. Aside from that, I can't think of anything else. Tisa nodded her head as if she were thinking something. After all the classes, Alisa returned to her home. Tomorrow was the weekend, so she thought about going to the training the day after tomorrow. People could call her lazy, but she did not want to face Logan every day, even though it was good for her wolf. When it was 8 o'clock in the evening, Alisa was scrolling her social media timeline while lying on her bed. She was alone in her house. Her parents went to a pack party at 6. She was feeling bored alone. Ring. Her phone started to vibrate with a ringtone. It was from an unknown number. She received the call. Hello. You still haven't saved my phone number, right? She got on her feet and questioned, Lucas. What were you doing? Feeling bored. Alisa put away her phone and looked around her room. Did he set any cameras in my room? But he had never come to my home before. She thought. He hummed when she became silent. Why did you call me? She inquired. He replied with a chuckle, I am standing at your main door. You what? She asked with a confused tone. At your main door. He replied more like he asked a question. She cut the call and went downstairs. She headed to the main door and opened it. He had on a black shirt, a black leather jacket, and black jeans all matching each other perfectly. He had a hot appearance. She looked away from him and confronted him with the question, why are you here? Do you speak to your guests in such a manner? Oh, no. She shook her head. He rolled his eyes and walked past her, entering her house. She glanced at his hand. There was a paper bag with the shop's branding on it. He looked around the house and sat on the couch. Not bad. She stared at him. How could he welcome himself into someone else's home? He turned his head towards her and patted the seat next to him. Feel free to sit. Yeah, of course I will sit. It's my home. He smirked at her. I like it when you act sassy with me. His words were going over her head. She sighed and asked, what would you like to have? Tea or coffee? You. He muttered, however, she heard him clearly. What? You are going out with me. When did I say that? You didn't say, but I came to take you. And no, I don't want to drink anything right now. Alisa was perplexed. She sat down on the opposite couch, which was far from him, and asked, what did you mean? Lucas stood up and walked to her. He handed the bag to her and explained, one of my close friends' birthdays is today. I need a date. So let's go with me. She had a fixed glare for him. It was clear to him that she did not agree with him. Why in the world would I go with you? She inquired. Because you should go to parties more often. You should enjoy nightlife too. No, thank you. She replied with a fake smile. Baby, please. I need a partner. He told me that I cannot enter alone and I need a girl as a partner. Baby, my foot. Go with your girls. What girls? You told me to stop everything. Now who will go out with me? He raised a question. Oh, hello? I did not intend to imply that I would attend every party with you if you stopped flirting with women. It was for your good, not mine. So you will not go with me. My parents will come anytime soon. I can't, Lucas. She refused him. The pack party will run the whole night. My parents are also there. And you know when the four meet, what happens? If what Lucas was telling her was true, then her parents would really come late at night. However, Alisa folded her arms and asked, give me one reason to go there. He smirked as if his reason was ready and he was just willing to place it in front of her. Your lovely best friend is also going there. What? Tisa is also going there? She did not tell me anything about this party. Max went to convince her. She will come, for sure. But why would she tell you? You are not a party person. As you say, I am not a party person. I should not go there. Max will be with her. She knows her own good. Lucas exhaled while looking at her. If you don't go with me, I will stay here the whole night. Then your father will come, and we will create a beautiful drama. Do you want that? Are you blackmailing me? Of course I am. The focus of Alisa's attention was entirely on him. She was unable to do anything. He was in control of this situation. If her father were to come here and see him, he would be very angry. She snatched the bag from him and headed upstairs. When she came to her room, she took out the dress. She gasped when she saw it. It was a beautiful black velvet knee-length dress. She did not waste time watching and got ready in 20 minutes. She put on a smoky makeup that suited the black dress. She wore a black boots and grabbed a black purse. When she went downstairs, Lucas was typing on his phone. He might have told his friends that he was coming there soon. Let's go. She let out. Lucas turned his head, and his eyes paused at her. She gulped at the way he looked at her. It made her feel somehow shy. She lowered her eyes to the floor. He slowly stood and headed to the main door. Let's go. He repeated her words. She stared at his back. He did not even say anything. It was not like she wanted his compliment. But the dress was given by him. So he should have said something. Am I not looking okay? She asked herself and walked behind him. She started to feel self-conscious. He closed the door and locked it. Her parents had the keys to their house too. She thought to call her parents in the car, otherwise, they would worry about her if they returned home and saw an empty house. Lucas stood beside his car and opened the door for her. She sat in the passenger seat, and he came to the driver's seat. However, he did not start the car. As if he were thinking something, he tapped his index finger on the steering wheel. She put her house keys in her purse and turned to him. Her eyes fell on his side profile. She was incapable of denying the fact that Lucas was, in fact, a really handsome man. In addition to that, the odor of his cologne permeated the entire car. She sniffed a little. The scent was calming and comforting. She waited for him to either start the car or speak. Unexpectedly, he turned his head and gazed in her direction. You look absolutely stunning in this dress. When I was picking out this dress, I did not expect that it would fit you quite so well. Oh. She nodded and thanked him. He extended his hand, which puzzled her, but then she heard him say, "Will you be my date tonight?" Date? Alisa furrowed her brow as she continued to look at his hand. Yeah. We are going together as partners, so. Lucas muttered. Alisa let out a chuckle before placing her hand on top of his. Okay, for tonight. He gave her a friendly grin while gently taking her hand. After that, he released his grip on her hand and started his car. Alisa's gaze was fixed on him, and she asked, "By the way, where is the party?" "Same club. The club we first met. That is not where we had our first encounter. Before then, we had already met." Alisa acknowledged him with a nod. "I know. I mean, we did not know you became like this." "Like what?" "Hot and handsome." "Aisha. This man." She murmured. He chuckled when he heard her. Alisa looked out the window and thought about her parents. She needed to inform them about her outings. Otherwise, they would get worried for her when they went back home. She opened her phone's lock screen and felt a gaze. "Focus on the road, not on my phone." she told him while dialing her father's number. I have caught your password. She laughed. It's not like I have some secret on my phone and you will see it. Hearing her, Lucas laughed. Alisa's father received her call. Alisa, Dad, I am going to a birthday party. I will be back safely. Party? But you didn't say anything when we were at home. My friend just called me and invited me, so I have to go. Okay, come back safely. Okay, Dad. Bye. Bye, my princess. Alisa felt relieved that her father was okay with her going out at night. So you are Dad's princess? She heard him. Were you eavesdropping on my conversation? No, but your father's voice reached my ears. What can I do with it? Alisa did not say anything. She did not want to argue with him now. So the ride became silent. The car reached the club. She was the one who got out of the car first. Lucas came out and threw the key to the guard, who would help him to park his car. Let's go. Lucas said and grabbed her hand. The men who were standing outside looked at them and without asking any questions, they were allowed to enter the club. When Alisa turned around, she saw that the men had stopped a number of the girls because they appeared to be underage. Hey! It's good that I am 18. But why didn't they ask to see my identification for the check like the way they are doing with them? She asked Lucas. Lucas narrowed his eyes. Why would they? You came here with me. They would never ask for any checking. Why? I am their regular customer. You heard about me at the table that day in the pack house. I am a party person. Alisa raised her brows and wondered if he always came here with girls. Alisa looked around and saw that everyone was busy drinking or dancing. Alisa saw a boy shout Lucas's name and come towards them. With the boy, there was a girl beside him. Lucas let go of her and hugged the boy. Happy birthday, Owen. Thanks, man. I am overjoyed that you have come. Hi, Lucas. The girl said as her eyes scanned Lucas from head to toe. It did not go unnoticed by Alisa. Lucas gave the girl a nod and turned to Alisa. She is Alisa. Lucas introduced her to his friend. Who is she? Your girlfriend? The girl asked curiously. Alisa shook her head immediately. No, I am not more than that. Lucas replied. Then he reached out and gripped her waist. Alisa tilted her head in his direction and gazed into his eyes as she faced him. Lucas whispered in her ear, "Play along with me. You can see how she is looking at me. She will devour me if you don't agree." Alisa glanced at the girl and then at Lucas. She kept quiet. Her eyes fell on his hand, which was holding her waist. She got mad at him. She waited some time to scold him for it. Owen laughed and said to the girl, "Liana, you can go and enjoy yourself there." The young lady gave a hostile expression as she surveyed Lucas and Alisa before moving to the opposite side of the area. "Don't mind her." Owen let out to Alisa. She yanked Lucas's hand away from her waist and stated, "I am not anything that he has just said. I just came with him on your birthday." "I know. I heard about you from him." She creased her brows thoughtfully. "About me? Yeah." She glanced at Lucas, who stared at her with an indifferent face as if he did not like what she had just said to his friend. "Happy birthday, Owen." Alisa ignored Lucas and smiled at Owen. Lucas walked past her and headed to the bar side. Alisa looked at him and said to Owen, "Excuse me." She went behind him. She sat on a stool beside him where he was sitting. "Why did you come from there like that?" He ordered a drink from the bartender. He did not reply to her. I am asking you. You brought me here, and now you have left me over there by myself. He grabbed his drink and sipped it. She took a deep breath and glared at him. I am talking to you, Lucas. He faced her and raised an eyebrow in her direction. Do you think that I behave with everyone the same way that I behave with you? What? Why did you say that to Owen? Did I tell him that you are my girlfriend? What did you try to prove? That I am some piece of shit and you don't want to be with me? She was taken aback. Hey! What's happened to you? When did I say that? I was just clearing up the facts. Because I don't want anyone to misunderstand us. Misunderstand? Yet. He muttered and sipped on his drink again. Please don't point the finger at me. Right now, I should be the one who is able to feel angry. Why did you hold my waist that time? You ought not to have acted in that manner. He heard her and remained silent for some time, then said, Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not going to touch you ever again. Alisa gave a slight nod and then shifted her attention to the dance floor. She was silently watching everyone. She did not say anything to Lucas to drag out the conversation. She gave him a sidelong glance before murmuring, You got mad very easily. She thought that because the music was so loud, he would not be able to hear her whispering to him. However, he replied to her, You are becoming the reason for my aggression. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.